Hi everyone, today I will be hot foiling and sharing with you all how I have zero foil waste. I will be using these Erin Lee Creative products, which will be listed down below in the description box. Let's get started. Alright, so I went ahead and I heated up my hot foil machine. As you can see, there is a red light which lets you know that it is on, and then the green light lets you know that the platform is ready, which means it's ready for you to put your plate on. So my plates had a bit of residue from the packaging, so I just put down a white piece of paper before I added my plate, just so there's no residue on my actual platform. So now that my plate is down, I am going to cut some foil. I will also mention that with larger plates like this, I tend to let them sit on my platform longer than what the manual may say, just because I want to ensure that the entire plate is heated. Solid plates and even large plates like this, they take longer to heat, and you see me touching it here just to make sure that it is hot, and I want to make sure that it is evenly hot to the touch, because when you run it through your machine, you want to ensure that all areas get that pressure and the heat that's necessary for the foil to bond with the paper. So yes, I am cutting my foil here. Please be sure that when you place your foil onto your plate, you are placing the shiny side down. The matte side will actually adhere to your plate if you place it incorrectly. So be sure that when you're making your sandwich, you place the shiny side down. So I did not show the other side of this page, but I'm actually using a glossy cardstock from Simon Says Stamp, and it is a black cardstock. I'm using white foil on this black cardstock to give that instant contrast. I will have that link down below for you to find, but normally if I'm just foiling to maybe ink blend or just practice my foiling techniques, I use Hammermill Cardstock, and I will also leave that link down below. The smoother and glossier your paper is, the better the adhesion of this foiling goes. So mirror cardstock, holographic cardstock, this glossy paper, as I said, I have used photo paper, like the back of the photo paper. So there are different options, especially if you are just trying to figure out what works best for you. There are options out there. So now we will go ahead and add everything. I add my plates. You let this heat up. I use the blinking light as my timer. When removing this from your platform, if you do not use tape to keep all of your plates in place, just be sure that you have a tight grip on everything. I tend to not use tape just because it's a lot to clean up afterwards depending on what tape you use. I tend to reach for my mint tape from scrapbook.com when I am just crafting in general, and I just hate having to clean all that up afterwards. So I just make sure I have a strong grip on everything and just place it into my Spellbinders Platinum 6 and run that through. I do only run this through once, and you will see my final results. So one thing you have to be prepared for when hot foiling is that everything will not come out perfect. You may have over foiling, you may have spots that don't foil, like in my first example, but you just have to roll with it. I can easily cover up the spot that didn't foil with a sentiment. If there's over foiling, you can always erase. Alright, so now I'm ready to create another card front using that same piece of foil that we had for the first panel. So I have a solid hot foil plate sitting on my platform, heating up, getting ready to use that. And I will simply place down my foil. Again, I will do that with the shiny side down on that hot plate. And then I will add my cardstock. So I'm actually going to show you here how things cannot turn out as great as you hoped. If you don't have enough pressure, if you move the plate, you always have oops that happen. So here I'm showing you what happens when you have an oops. I didn't have enough pressure, and in this case all I needed to do was one, let my hot foil, the solid plate, heat up longer because it was not hot enough, and then I also should have added a cardstock shim to this sandwich when running it through my Platinum 6, and I didn't. So take that as a sign that patience is key with all of this. In crafting, patience generally is key, but with hot foiling, you definitely have to be patient and a little bit meticulous with placement depending on what plates you're using. So here I'm just taking another foil piece that I had from practicing, and we are going to try this again. So I'm placing down my black glossy cardstock. My foil is face down on this plate. It's heated up longer, and then I'm just going to place my plates on top and let that heat up. So once the heating process is complete, I run that through my machine, and you will see that I was able to get a perfect transfer of this foil, and I am so happy and fell in love with this panel. It is absolutely gorgeous. So now you are seeing some of the panels that I was able to make. The red and black, we're using the actual foil plate, and then the white one is me using the leftover foil on the solid plate to create the card panel, and that's the one I went with. I also foiled those sentiments I showed at the beginning of the video. There is a hot foil plate as well as a die for these same sentiments, and yeah, so I'm just placing that on my card front. And there you have it. It is complete. I matted that on some black cardstock and then just added a panel and sentiment stamped inside. So I hope someone finds this tutorial beneficial. I love hot foiling. I just don't do it as often as I'd like. I tend to just sit down and do it when I have the time. But yeah, so that's all that I have. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.